right. We're back inside another brand new episode of the Let's Not Do This podcast. 2 of the 4, 2 of the 3. I don't count myself. I'm not unwise. 2 of the 3 unwise men. Actually, it's 1. God damn it. It's 1. I can't do math.
You'll get there.
We're doing it live. Technical issues caused a little us not to podcast last week, and we've had some technical issues that we are diligently working through now, but we're here.
Well, we podcasted.
Yeah,
nobody saw it.
No one saw it. It was it was very much like a normal podcast, and then except for our friends from Estonia could not see it. So,
yeah, we had a reason to get no views this week.
Yeah, there we go. But yes, our good friend Scotti Too Hottie, my good friend, is across from me right now. How are you, sir?
Not too bad, not too bad. How about yourself?
All right, and of course myself, the big O, Leon Oliver. I'm doing all right over here, and you notice the empty chair, much like who was it? Was it who was the actor with the empty chair at the presidential debates a few years ago?
I don't know.
Oh man, I can't remember. I want to say
I try not to watch those.
Yeah, it was like actually really funny, but it was like an empty chair. Was it Clint Eastwood maybe? The empty chair? I can't remember. But anyway, the empty chair is when Ryan Dickerson, he is out on assignment. And by assignment, I mean he's probably drunk somewhere or at a sports bar. But we wish him well. And, of course, Chris's suspension continues. Though we did see Christopher on Saturday. He actually put his skills to use as he's trying to earn his way back into the podcast. He did grill some hot dogs. So he had that going for him. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's I didn't tip him.
No.
Not
at all.
Yeah, he's beneath tipping, you know. We'll up his wage. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
Give him a 10% raise.
Yeah. Well, someone that's not getting a raise, we were watching some football Saturday, and I think we caught the tail end of the Carolina game, right? Yeah. It all blends in. It was Carolina, Georgia Tech. Did we catch the tail end of that? I know we were watching USC, Colorado, UCLA. We were watching the World Series. It was a sports amalgamation. It was all blending in.
Yeah, the Ngannou fight.
Yeah, the Ngannou fight.
The robbery.
Are you still upset about that?
I'm not really upset. I mean, it was an exhibition. You knew they were probably going to give for the decision.
Yeah, it was.
They got to set up his money fight.
It's a good sports weekend, though. And now we had the sports equinox yesterday with football, baseball, basketball, hockey all on the same day. And everyone forgot soccer. MLS playoffs going on, too. That was going on yesterday, too. They got left out. Redheaded stepchild. But, oh, well, here we are now. So we're back. We're happy about it. You can find us, of course, on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, all that good stuff, and on Twitter and what was it, X and Instagram. And
Threads. Yeah, subscribe to the YouTube, please.
Yes, that's the most important thing. If you do nothing else, like the YouTube, subscribe to YouTube, and tell a friend. We don't ask much from you. Just do these things, and you will make us happy. Also, send us beer. Scotti prefers the Stella Artois.
I prefer anybody that wants to sponsor us. I prefer that.
Spoken like a true businessman. Well, there was some business going down in the NFL today. I know we were both at our regular jobs doing some work, so we couldn't quite fully keep abreast of everything, but there was some wheeling and dealing going on, and your Washington Commanders are 2 defensive ends short now, or 2 defensive linemen short now.
Traded away both of our edge rushers. Whatever. We got Josh Harris now, so trust the process. That's what I'm going to do. I was a little surprised that if you'd have told me we got a second and third for both of them, I thought it'd be the other way around. I figured Chase Young would have got the second round pick and Montez Sweat would have got the third, but no. Bears are going to give us it's a high-end second-round pick, so you can basically call that a late first-round pick for Montez Sweat. I'll take that any day of the week. We don't know if he was going to re-sign with us, and I don't think they wanted to pay him. And then Chase Young, he's just can't stay on the field. Like I said, I thought we would have got a second for him, and I'm surprised that because the Patriots were interested in him. I'm surprised they didn't want to give up a third because we would have took their third over San Francisco's. But,
it's interesting. I think New England needs a lot of help, so maybe they were trying to keep those picks for a wholesale rebuild. Who knows what's going to happen there? But yeah, it's interesting now to see Chase Young go out to San Francisco, and it was funny when he got drafted. The debate amongst the then Redskins fans was, we take him over Justin Herbert. We'll definitely take this. I think we can go ahead and close the chapter on that now. And
well, just about everybody would have took Chase Young over Justin Herbert back then.
I don't think Herbert would have made much of a difference with that franchise and the way it's gone. He probably would have been ruined.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
They would have got him killed.
So you got Chase Young and now, Trent Williams and Chase Young now out in San Francisco.
Yeah, so I guess I'll get to watch them win a ring this year. Maybe. Be bittersweet.
They can say fuck Dan Snyder when they hold up their Super Bowl wings.
Pretty much.
They got to get their problems straight first. But San Francisco's lost 3 in a row?
Yeah. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
We see these teams do this sometimes. They got to get their quarterbacks healthy. I don't think Purdy should have played last week. He probably still was suffering from some remnants from that concussion. But yeah, they're going to be fine.
He's talking about a fall from grace the last couple of weeks. I mean, one of the things we saw at Iowa State, he turned the ball over a lot and gambled and stuff. In the NFL, he's been up to this point pretty good about not turning the ball over. And he's been a little reckless the last couple of weeks. And how much of that is the concussion, how much of that is the injury. It really says something about, what's his name? Came over from the Panthers, the backup. He was
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Sam Darnold. It really says something about Sam Darnold when you don't feel comfortable tossing him out there. But San Francisco's defense is beat up right now, too.
Yeah.
Debo Samuel, I don't think played last week either. So, yeah, a lot of things to be said there. Was there any trades or lack thereof that surprised you other than Washington?
That was the only one that they traded. I figured they'd trade one or the other, but they traded both. Not really surprised by anything else, no. Wasn't a whole lot of, like most trade deadlines, it was kind of melodramatic. Leonard Williams going to the... Where'd he go?
He went from the Giants to
Seahawks?
Was the Seahawks, I believe it was. Yeah. Josh Dobbs, of course, going from Arizona to Minnesota. The Vikings desperately needing a quarterback after Kirk Cousins goes down. It surprised me that Jameis was still there, especially some of these teams that need a quarterback. I thought maybe Minnesota would take a flyer on a guy like that. I mean, we've seen what he's done before. Former starter, Pro Bowl guy previously. It's interesting that they felt Josh Dobbs, could be the guy to stopgap.
I think O'Connell wants somebody that's going to take care of the ball.
Yeah.
And that's not Jameis. Jameis is entertaining. He's going to throw some touchdowns, but he's also going to throw a lot of interceptions and make a lot of plays where you're just wondering what the hell he's thinking.
Dobbs, too, is a really smart guy. We all know the story, but, guys literally could be a freaking astronaut if he wanted to. And he'll pick up on that offense quick. Remember, Arizona got him off the street.
Yeah, well, I said it before we played them in week 1, that he was going to make it a close game, and I liked them if they played him. And we beat them, but they covered.
I think he's going to wind up. Who was that guy, Josh Johnson? That's been
like he's still on a team somewhere. I don't know where he's at
15
now.
Different teams. I think it's going to be Josh Johnson. He's been on Dobbs is catching up. He's been on a bunch of different teams. He's a Steeler, he was a Brown. Now he's in Minnesota. He was in Arizona.
I think he'll be a little bit of a better Josh Johnson. But yeah.
A richer man's Josh Johnson. Well, none of us got rich this past week. We couldn't get our picks. Y'all didn't hear our picks because we weren't on the podcast. But the old man Ryan, what did he do? He went.
So last week, Ryan on the redacted episode went 1-2 in college and 2-1 in the NFL.
Okay, then I went. I believe it was 2-1 in college and 2-0-1 in the NFL, thanks to that push, -3 with the Jets against the Giants there. Of course, when I do well and no one hears it, and of course I was bouting my knowledge of Georgia Southern, and they just go out and just beat the hell out of Georgia State.
Actually, bet on them too.
Yeah, there
was a boost on them to win outright to like even money.
You can thank me for that. You can thank the folks in Statesboro for that too. Southern, not state, always in the state of Georgia. Remember that, kids. What'd you do last week?
I tied for my best week on the podcast. Of course. Nobody believes us.
If it didn't happen, though.
Yeah, the week before we both went 1-2. Ryan wasn't here, but 1-2 in each sport. But yeah, had Vikings. I swept the NFL. Vikings, Jets and Giants under, and Chargers -8.5.
Well, let's see what happens this week here as I get ready to pull my picks up. Scotty, you know what? In fact, I'll let you go first here. Since you've probably have a better record than me on the season. Actually, I know you have a better record than me on the season. I'll let you.
It just depends on if them first 2 college weeks brought me down enough. So I went 0-5 one week, I think.
Speaking of college, you want to start off there?
Yeah, we can start with college.
All right. What's on your? You got 3 games this week. What's on your board?
Yeah. My first game here is going to be. I'm going to take the big number with Georgia at home against Missouri. I They are 15.5-point favorites. But they are looking good. They're looking like Georgia again these last few weeks. I think after that scare they got from Auburn, who was also struggling, I think that kind of woke them up, and they've been rolling the last few weeks.
Hell out of Florida.
Yeah, and they're at home. They're just better, I think, at everything on the field against Missouri, and I think they're just going to be too physical, too much for them. I think they're going to win big.
So the line on that was what? Georgia minus what?
15.5.
15.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So Georgia minus 15.5 between the hedges. Missouri, no one's talking about them. Tigers 14 in the country.
Yeah, I think there might be a reason why. I mean, they're 14th. They've only lost one game. They're playing well, but I think they're going to run into just a terrible matchup for them this week.
Well, since we are just the two of us, I'm actually going to throw something at you on the fly here and give you my next one.
Okay.
And we can go back and forth. And I'm going to hit you with a not so fast, my friend, in the honor of old Lee Corso there. I got Mizzou, number 14, at number 1, Georgia, 3:30 Saturday on CBS, which, by the way, doesn't get any better than 3:30 SEC football on CBS. I know they got this Big Ten deal and stuff now. No, that's where this game belongs. I'm taking Missouri plus the 15.5 points. Two quarterbacks no one's talking about. They're 2 and 3 in the SEC in passing. Of course, Carson Beck for Georgia and Brady Cook for Missouri. My key factor in this game, Luther Burden, stud wide receiver for Missouri. As the kids say, he's him. And I think he's going to make a play to keep the Tigers in this game. I'm not saying that they're going to pull off the upset between the hedges, but last year, Missouri gave them hell. It was their toughest SEC game last year as well. The Tigers and Eli Drinkwitz, those guys are primed, so they're going to be feisty. I like Missouri plus 15.5.
Okay. Well, feel good about that one now.
Up next for you, sir.
Oh, you might have picked this game too. We'll see. Actually, no, I'm going to leave that for the end.
Ooh, suspense.
No, screw it. I'll pick it now. The last two games are big games. So, all right, second pick here. I'm going to LSU and Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
LSU at Alabama. I'm going with, I couldn't decide on a point spread. I think it's going to be a very close game. But I'm going to go with the over 60.5. Jaden Daniels and that offense has just been lights out, and their defense has been the exact opposite. They're like USC East, basically. So they're going to put up points on Alabama, and Alabama's going to put points up on them. And like I said, I think it's going to be a close game, so that usually helps with the over, because both teams are going to be playing till the end. Alabama's offense has been getting better, and this game was in the 60s last year. So, yeah, give me the over.
You know, I'm also on this game as well. The 13th ranked Tigers going into Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. Bama coming off the bye week after that big win over Tennessee. Scotty, I had this on my board to go over as well, but Bama's defense is so good. And LSU has the number 1 offense in the country. They're putting up video game numbers, of course. And I think this game could go to overtime. I do like the over in this because I think it could go to overtime, and especially at that point that over is going to hit. But I just feel confident in Alabama at home with Saban off of a bye week. I'm going to go with Alabama. I got them at -3 earlier this morning, so I'm taking the Tide -3 in Bryant-Denny.
Okay. Yeah, every LSU game's gone over this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They're the over kings.
Yep.
What would the big cat say? Life's too short to bet the under?
Yeah, but under makes money.
Yeah.
But not in this game.
All
right.
right. Your final one. Your piece de resistance.
Last pick here. What do they call the Oklahoma State Oklahoma game?
Bedlam.
Bedlam. Okay. Well, it's going to be the last Bedlam for at least a while, right?
Quite some time. Those two teams don't like each other, and Oklahoma State's very butthurt that the Sooners are leaving them.
And that's part of the reason why I'm taking Oklahoma State. I think they could win outright. I got this at 6.5. It's probably down to 6 now. We could play it either way for the podcast. But, yeah, Oklahoma State, these teams are kind of going in opposite directions right now. Oklahoma State's been playing a lot better. Oklahoma lost to my Kansas last week. I'm on the Kansas bandwagon. But and then almost lost to UCF the week before that, who hasn't won a conference game yet. Yeah, Oklahoma's trending down, like I said. In the last game in Bedlam, OK State's going to be pissed off. The fans are going to be rowdy. So, yeah, I think they'll at least keep it close.
Is that game in Stillwater?
Or
is it in Norman?
It's in Stillwater.
In Stillwater.
Yep.
Ooh, that's a feisty
Yeah.
atmosphere, too. In Stillwater for the last Bedlam. That's going to be the emotional charged atmosphere there.
It's going to be a close game, so 6.5 either way is too much for me.
I almost went with that game. Almost did. But I'm going off the beaten path for my third game, as I like to do. And you're going to hate me on this because the line's not out on this game. So I'm just picking the favorite. I'm just going to pick the favorite in this one. There is no line because it's an FCS game. And it's not just an FCS game. It's the battle for the Dakota marker. You know who plays for the Dakota marker?
North Dakota and South Dakota.
North Dakota State
and
South Dakota State. Yes. The Bison and the Jackrabbit, 10th ranked Bison of North Dakota State, coming into Brookings, South Dakota, taking on the number 1 Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. That's a Saturday 3:00 game on ESPN Plus. Dana J. Dickhouse Stadium is going to be rocking. All 19,300 seats are going to be filled. The Dakota markers on the line. The Bison, Scotty, 9 FCS national championships, all since 2011. The last one was in 2021. Jackrabbits have been in 2 of the last 3 FCS title games. They beat North Dakota State last year for the title. Jackrabbits have won 22 straight games, including a win over their other rival, South Dakota, last week. And they've won the last 4 over North Dakota State. And they got a quarterback that may be the best in the FCS, Mark Gronowski. He can move the ball. I like the Jackrabbits. There's no team that can beat South Dakota State other than South Dakota State in FCS. I'm going with the Jackrabbits at home. Okay. I was listening to an FCS podcast today. Those guys think the line is going to be set around 15.5. And the Bison fan, of course, took his Bison plus the 15.5. If that's the line, fine. I'll take them to cover it. I don't think it's going to be
South
contest.
Dakota State, whatever the line is.
Whatever the line is, I'm going with the Jackrabbits. I think it's going to be about 15.5 or so. I trust these guys' insights on the FCS Fans Nation podcast. I'm going to give them a little shout out there. They're one of the big FCS podcasts out there. But going with the Jackrabbits at home in Brookings. By the way, last time I looked at the weather, it's going to be 38, I think, there and cold. That's just big boy football right there. I'm excited for it.
Is there 19,000 people in South Dakota?
All 19,000 in the beautiful city of Brookings will be there. And I'm sure the parking lots will be twice as full. It's going to be rocking there. And that game is always a lot of fun. The battle for the Dakota marker, which, by the way, is like a 70-pound marker that they used to have on the border to mark North and South Dakota. They started playing for this thing like in 2004 or so, actually playing for a replica of it. So, yeah.
Well, better than a bronze pig.
Hey, the Florida Rosedale is a lovely thing. By the way, Iowa has the lowest ever under this week. They're playing, who is it, Northwestern?
Northwestern.
Yeah, Northwestern coming off their big upset win over Maryland. And what's over under in the Iowa game, like 30.5?
Last I saw it was 31.
Woo. This isn't a podcast pick, so this won't go on your record. But what are you doing there? What are you feeling?
I think I'm going to bet that over if I had to. I might do it anyways. I don't know. That number is so low.
Well, Brian Ferentz, Iowa officially announced offense coordinator Brian Ferentz will not be coming back next year. Do you think there's an offensive explosion to say goodbye?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, they might the offense might get a touchdown and maybe even a field goal. Or you might get a defensive touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to be it. We're going to see some defensive scores.
Yeah.
I think Northwestern will be feeling themselves a little bit after that win over Maryland, and they're going to get slapped down by Iowa. Yeah,
like a 2013 game, maybe.
I don't think Northwestern can score 13 on Iowa. I'm feeling like a 24-7 kind of thing. Maybe a couple field goals, maybe a defensive touchdown or something. I could see that. But yeah, could you imagine, just think about how good Iowa's defense is. If they had any semblance of an offense.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
I can't find a line for the game either.
What, on the North Dakota State, South Dakota State?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I found one that said 5.5, and I was looking at the article. It was from last year.
Yeah. Why don't they put FCS lines out till Saturday morning?
Probably because there's probably sharks for FCS.
Yeah.
And the bookies probably don't have as much intel as they do, and so they probably don't want to put the lines up too early, and then they get their heads kicked in by the Sharks.
But then I can go and put a bet in on like second division German soccer for this weekend. You're telling me there's more of a market? Like they have more intel on second division German soccer than the FCS football?
Maybe. I don't know. I have to read into that.
I mean, like literally, there's like billiards. You can, cricket. You ever bet on cricket?
No.
Yeah, cricket World Cup's going on right now. I've been betting on that. Like
I don't understand cricket. I don't know how it lasts days, so I don't know how they determine a winner. So yeah, I'm not gonna bet on that.
Hang out with me sometime. We'll stay up to 4:00 in the morning watching Willow TV and watch some cricket.
It was about to be an Olympic sport, so I'll probably get into it then.
There you go. Can you bet on? Yeah, you can bet on the Olympics. We did this past time, so yeah, I'm sure we'll lose some money on like Bangladesh or something like that. See what's going on. All right, well, shifting over to the National Football League, I'll start this one. NFL, Kansas City 6-2, taking on Miami 6-2 Sunday, 9:30 a.m. in Frankfurt, Germany on the NFL Network. Kansas City is 2.5-point favorite. Over under in this one is 50.5 points. Kansas City's offense hasn't been firing on all cylinders this year. I mean, they've been scoring, but not at the rate that we're used to seeing. We see Miami's offense kind of falter a little bit against some of the better teams. And one thing I'm looking out for, there's a hybrid surface that was installed at this stadium in Frankfurt. It's about 90% grass. I'm going to keep an eye on the footing. That surface will get tested for the first time on Thursday when Eintracht Frankfurt hosts HJK Helsinki in a Europa Conference League soccer match. I want to see how that pitch holds up, especially after the soccer game. Two teams with big offenses going halfway across the world. Their schedules are off. We saw what Mahomes was sick last week and Swift. Oh my God. I've changed the man's name to Swift now. I've forgotten Travis Kelce's last name. He's just become Travis Swift in my brain. Yeah, Travis Kelce was sick, I guess, allegedly. I don't know. The over feels really bloated here in this game, especially considering the circumstances. I'm going under the 50.5 between Miami and Kansas City.
I actually almost went there, and I might end up betting that. So, yeah.
And those European games are always zany. Like something's always off. It's always guys are out of their comfort zone. And look, we saw Kelce partying up at the Rangers game on Friday before they played on Sunday. Uh-huh. We know that he likes to get after it. Everyone's kind of seen him out on Fridays. You let this man loose in Frankfurt, Germany with German beer. Yeah, he ain't going to be feeling real good on Sunday. Yeah. I'm taking the under.
Okay, fair enough. I like that pick. My first NFL pick is going to be, I'm actually going with my Washington Commanders. I looked at this line. So initially I had planned on actually fading my own team here because I thought they were going to be favored at New England. We're 3.5. Well, it might be 3 now. I got it. I think I bet Rivers at 3.5. I don't understand why we're 3.5 point underdogs to New England. I understand it's on the road and we just traded away two of our best defensive players. They think we're tanking or whatever. So what? Mac Jones is going to get an extra half second. What's he going to do with it?
You bring up a good point.
Throw it out of bounds instead of interception.
This game was on my radar too, and I saw that it was like 3.5 points against a team that just put up 31 against Philadelphia the week before. It didn't feel right. But then I stayed away. As soon as I saw the two trades, I took it off my card. Yeah, so I'm interested to see where you go with this.
The offense has been up and down, but even if it is down, I mean, are they going to beat us by more than 3 points? I don't think so. I think it's going to be an ugly game. Give me 3.5 points against Mac Jones and whoever Mac Jones plays. If he's getting 3.5 points, I'd probably take it.
So Washington minus 3.5.
Plus 3.5.
Oh, plus 3.5. Okay. All right. My next game, I'm going to go with the Battle of the Birds. Seattle 5-2 at Baltimore, 6-2 Sunday, 1:00 CBS. Ravens are 5.5 point favorites. Over under is 43. Is it me or does no one talk about Seattle? It's like the best team no one ever talks about.
They're in first place
all the national shows. Yeah, they're in first place in the NFC West. They just keep winning. No one, and maybe it's because they're almost in Canada. They're all the way up there. It's not a major TV market. I don't know. They just win, and no one talks about them. Only thing we've heard about Seattle all season was those throwback jerseys looked amazing last week, and that should be their full-time jersey all the time. That's it.
I think Gino has a lot to do with that. He had a nice season last year, and I don't think people are thinking that was like a one-hit wonder or whatever.
He's come back to earth a little bit the last couple of weeks. He started off, on a similar trek earlier this season, but turnovers kind of crept up a little bit. He hasn't played as well the last couple of weeks. One thing that does concern me as well with Seattle taking on Baltimore is Cleveland ran the ball well against Seattle last week. That gives me some pause, especially with Baltimore's ability to run the ball with a couple different guys. And let's face it, Lamar can always take off and fly. That being said, I'm going to take Seattle plus the 5.5. I know, Baltimore's blown out a couple teams this year, but typically Baltimore doesn't know how to finish people off. And maybe I'm holding the last few years against them, but I feel like Baltimore's always in a close game. Justin Tucker's leg always makes a big difference for them. I think Baltimore wins, but I don't see them covering the 5.5. I feel like this is a 3-point game that they're going to beat Seattle by.
Yeah. I don't know if I like that one. Maybe. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you why. I'm looking at their schedule here. These are the Seahawks wins. At Detroit was their first win, which that's a really good win.
Yeah.
But then it's at home against Carolina, on the road against the Giants, at home against the Cardinals, and then they beat the Browns last week at home against the backup quarterback. Okay, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, not the sexiest win schedule outside of the Lions.
Yeah. Now, if they win this week, then they'll start getting their recognition.
Yeah, they'll definitely start getting on the talk shows, and people start flying out there and talking about people. But yeah, they just fly under the radar and just find a way to win. They reminded me of like no one really talks about. If it wasn't for Lamar, people I don't think we really talk about Baltimore that much. It ain't the sexiest thing in the world. I mean, Lamar is playing MVP football right now. But
I'm guilty of overlooking Baltimore. I thought they were going to regress this year just because they didn't really make any moves other than drafting Zay Flowers, which has been huge. But yeah, Lamar's back to being Lamar this year, and that's a dangerous team.
It's amazing. If you take a really talented quarterback and actually give him wide receivers,
yeah,
it's amazing what happens. Yeah, it really is. All right, so that was my second pick there, and then your piece de resistance.
All right, so my last two games, well, I guess all three of my games are stinkers here, but this one, Saints are 7.5-point favorites at home against the Bears.
Woo.
I'm fading Tyler Bagent again. The Bears stink. Bagent's starting against a good defense in the Superdome. He struggled against the Chargers. He had some good-looking throws, but he turned the ball over. And I just think him going to the Superdome against a really good defense, and the Saints' offense is playing decent too. So I just think the Saints are going to win by double digits. Give me the Saints minus 7.5.
I like that. I'm all over that. I would just fade the hell out of Chicago for the rest of the year. Yeah. You know what's interesting? Chicago has, I forget what week it is, but they have a game against Carolina this season. And Carolina, got their first win last week. And, of course, now the Bears had the Panthers' first pick. So later on in the season, in this stinker of a matchup, the Bears could fuck themselves by beating the Panthers. Something to keep an eye on there. And I don't know what Chicago is doing right now. I mean, picking up Sweat. Sweat's a free agent, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
And they traded, what was it, a second-round pick?
Yeah, so it's going to be a high second-round pick.
Yeah, you must feel really good about your chances of re-signing
I'll take that back. I'm not sure if it was their second-round pick or somebody else's. But, yeah, second-round pick regardless.
But still, to give a second-round pick to a guy who is going to be a free agent, you must feel really good about re-signing him. You don't know what your quarterback situation is. As far as I know, I think the Justin Fields experiment may be over there. They may be in the market for a quarterback again. Now you bring on another defensive player. I just don't understand the logic behind that. If I'm Chicago, I don't think they know what they're doing.
Well, I think it depends on where they are in the draft and what quarterback they land on. If they can get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison to pair with them, then yeah, of course they're going to move on from Justin Fields. But I guess it just all depends.
I wonder would they take a shot at a Drake May if he was somewhere around there, or did Mitch Trubisky ruin them for Carolina quarterbacks?
Yeah, that's the thing. You just never know.
Yeah,
the teams in really good college systems. And they've been getting their ass kicked the last 2 weeks. Two of the worst teams in the conference.
Speaking of getting their ass kicked, one thing is, so NC State beat Clemson over the weekend. Clemson's 4-4 now on the year. Certainly seeing how the other half lives right now. And, last few years, what Clemson last won the national title, like 2018, I think it was. And they've steadily kind of progressed down. We've seen Dabo not be active in the transfer portal. And Clemson fans are starting to get a little upset, little angry there.
Yep.
And one thing that amazed me, you ever spend much time listening to coaches call-in shows or anything like that?
Not typically, no.
No?
No.
One thing that amazed me is Clemson still takes live calls on their call-in show. Now, I'm going to pull the curtain back here for you boys and girls at home. When you're listening or watching these shows, these emails that are coming in, the texts that are coming in, even the questions that are when they're at Billy Bob's steakhouse and some guy comes up to ask a question, all that has been vetted. It's going to be friendly questions or something silly. It's going to be a 7-year-old, Coach, what's your favorite Halloween candy? It's going to be something like that. It's never something of, because why put it on your own network? When I worked at Virginia, there was, when I worked for the Virginia Sports Radio Network and all that stuff, there was a caller, Clyde from Forest, and I wish I had this audio still. He calls a Virginia show, and this was the last live call they ever took for the coach's show. They were in Al Grove's office. Clyde from Forest comes through, and Mike Groh was the offensive coordinator at the time, his son. They went through a very Kurt and Brian Ferentz thing that Iowa's going through right now. And Clyde, I forget what it was, what he said to Al, but I'll never forget Mack McDonald, who was the voice of Virginia Cavaliers at the time, going, "You're done, Clyde," and hanging up on him. And that was the last live call they ever took. Clemson still takes live calls.
Okay.
And this led to this interaction on the Tiger Calls show this past week.
What's his name? Hey, Tyler, I'm listening to enough for you, Tyler. Listen, hey, you can have all your opinions that you want, right? I don't know how old you are. Don't really care, right? But let me tell you something. We won 11 games last year, and you're part of the problem, to be honest with you, because that is part of the problem. It's people like you that do that. All you do is the appreciation. The expectation is greater than the appreciation, and that's the problem.
Now, I want your thoughts on this. Now, I edited this down. At the beginning of that phone call, Tyler proceeded to talk about how he's been a lifelong Clemson fan, and Dabo's a man of faith. And Tyler mentioned he was a man of faith. And he actually had he made reference to the scripture that pretty much says, pride cometh before the fall, or whatever it was. And like, Coach, have you ever read it? Which is kind of condescending because we all know Dabo's very outwardly Christian. So it's kind of like you're questioning his faith. And why are you paying this much to make this much? I could see what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
But
he
it didn't phrase it right.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the question and Dabo clapping back at him?
I think they're both assholes. Because, like, what he said wasn't necessarily wrong, but the fact that he said it, like, you're the coach. You can't tell a fan he's part of the problem. Like, you can't tell any fan that. You can't ask for appreciation. Yeah, he probably should be appreciated more than having these ungodly expectations now. But, I mean, sports is a what have you done for me lately thing anyways. But, yeah, the fan's a douchebag, and Dabo's kind of a douchebag for telling him he's the problem and he should be appreciated.
As far as I know, a fan has never called a play. As far as I know, a fan has never recruited a player. A fan has never, run a kid off or played a guy when he, was injured, or a fan has never done any of that. How can a fan be part of the problem? I get his frustration, saying, "Hey, you're either with us or you're against us," kind of thing.
Oh, and he also told him to apply for the job.
Yeah,
that was probably the worst thing of all. Like, dude. Who's the 19-year-old here? Like,
exactly. And Dabo wasn't done there. He went on a long rant afterwards about this. I cut this down. Dabo going back at Tyler again.
And so, national championship for 35 years. We won 2 in 7 years. And there's only 2 other teams that can say that, Georgia and Alabama. Okay? Is this a bad year? Yeah. And it's my responsibility. Take 100% responsibility for it. But all this bull crap you're thinking, all these narratives you read, listen, man, you can have your opinion all you want. And you can apply for the job. And good luck to you.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's
You can think that, and it's a valid thought, but you can't actually say that. That's not what fans. That's not what your AD wants to hear. They want to hear that you're gonna do whatever it takes to get better and like understand that you're struggling and let everybody know that we're trying to understand that we're not meeting our expectations or whatever. But you can't just pull out stats. Like, how did he even have that stat in his pocket just to pull out?
I'm glad you said that. So I'm not sure if you know Bud Elliott. He does the Cover 3 podcast for CBS Sports.
Heard of it, yeah.
A big college football voice. But Bud Elliott has a working theory that was a plant, that it was an inside job, that was a phone call that was essentially speaking for the fan base, and they had him call so he could clap back with this. I'm not going to go that far. Honestly, I don't think Dabo's smart enough to engineer that. But yeah, things are getting a little testy in Tiger Town right now.
Yeah,
but
I'd imagine if he has one more year like this, they'd probably let him go.
So he's upset, and he's not the only ACC coach that's upset now. I didn't pull audio of this, but Carolina, of course, shit the bed against Georgia Tech.
Right.
Loss of the Yellow Jackets. Sky, do you know this is Carolina's, I think, 5th time they've lost an ACC game since 2000 where they've been a double-digit favorite?
Yeah, that's insane.
It really is nuts.
They ruined my UVA prediction of them not winning a conference game. Assholes.
Carolina's defense the last couple of weeks against Virginia and Georgia Tech has been abysmal. Georgia Tech had a running back that run for like 60 yards on the year or whatever it was. He ran for 140 in the fourth quarter.
Jeez.
Like Carolina, whenever they face adversity, they just fold up like a cheap suit. And I hate Carolina, and I was believing them. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. That was the second best team in the ACC.
You think they lose this week?
I didn't even look who's on their schedule.
They're playing. Hold on, Campbell.
Oh, the fighting
How
Camels.
did that game happen in November?
They're taking the SEC approach. Before the Iron Bowl, Alabama always plays like Sisters of the Poor right before they play Auburn.
Yeah,
they're taking the SEC approach.
They just beat the hell out of Richmond, so watch out, UNC.
Roll humps. That's what they say about Campbell. Those boys from Fuquay Varina, North Carolina. Watch your mouth, sir. Well, so Mack Brown at the press conference this week, they kept asking about the defense. He kept going, well, you'll have to ask Gene. You have to ask Gene. Gene Chizik, the defensive coordinator. You're the head coach.
Yes.
You answer for everything.
So in other words, he's not coming back next year.
Look, Mack is getting a little testy at his old age, and we all knew when he came back for round 2.0 in Chapel Hill, it won't going to be long, but and they don't have another generational quarterback. Like there's no Sam Howell, there's no Jerick May, at least that I know of on the radar in Chapel Hill coming up. So yeah, he may not be long for Chapel Hill. But last thing I wanted to get to on feisty ACC coaches, Dave Doeren, my coach of the beloved NC State Wolfpack. He is kind of going through, and I thought this, and they articulated a lot better than me on the Ovis and Giglio podcast. He's going through what Herb Sintek went through at NC State with basketball, where it was good, but it's not good enough. Right. And there's a portion of the fan base that if they win a game, it's whatever. You're supposed to win that game. Because you go back and look at Doran's record, he's now got tied for the He's tied for the most wins in school history, but he's got a losing record in the ACC, and like 30 of his wins are against like group of 5 teams, whatever. Not exactly great, but you win the games you're supposed to win. And there's a large part of the fan base that as soon as they lose, I told you, and then if they win, what are you supposed to do? Well, Steve Smith was on College GameDay when they were in Utah Saturday. And they were going through the games, as the guest picker. And he had this to say when picking NC State and Clemson.
Over NC State, for basketball to start. Yeah.
That voice laughing, that was Kirk Herbstreit agreeing and chuckling.
I was watching that live. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you. You're an ACC fan. You're a Virginia Tech fan.
Right.
When you say NC State, do you think football school, basketball school, mixture? What do you think?
Honestly, I probably think football school. I don't know why, I think football. I won't say football school, but football comes to mind first when I think of them. I mean, when was the last time NC State had like a really good team?
They went to Sweet 16. I forget what year it was, but yeah,
you forget what year it was.
Yeah, there was the last championship of basketball was like 89, I think it was.
What was it last year? Y'all were like threatening at one point for the ACC, right?
Yeah, in football.
I thought y'all were gonna win it. I was thinking about putting a bet on y'all.
In football?
Yeah.
And then the Clemson game happened, and then
so maybe that's
the quarterbacks went down. But
if you asked me 10 years ago, I might say basketball, but
I think, especially post Jim Valvano, when the sanctions came and Les Robinson, the program was down, I think State really started to shift resources. And hey, we're not going to be Duke, we're not going to be Carolina in basketball. And I think they really started to concentrate on football. I don't think State's a football school, but I think right now it is shifted more toward football than basketball. I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I call it a football or I don't know what I would call it, but I think football first.
But obviously, you got the history and the tradition of basketball and the 2 national championships, but all that was eons ago.
Right.
Ryan was only alive when those were going on.
He was
he was a ball boy. He
was a walk-on.
Yeah, he was. Well, let's not be too generous to him. I heard he couldn't dribble and chew gum at the same time. I know he's listening right now. He's really upset too. Yeah. So Dave Doeren took exception with that, of course. So after the win against Clemson, he's speaking to the ACC network. The CW, because he was on the CW.
Yeah.
Yeah. After the win against Clemson, he had this to say.
Where does that fit? All the stuff our world needs. And I'll tell Steve Smith in the studio, this ain't a basketball school. He can kiss my ass.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
It is. Okay, but Steve Smith was just up there doing his job. He's allowed to say not whatever he wants, but I mean he's up there talking that's what he does for his job. So
yeah,
it's like all of a sudden because of the Jerry Jeudy thing, like I guess he's got a target on his back.
I mean
But I understand the coach is like fine to say what he said. It's hilarious.
It's great, and I think what we're seeing now with Dabo clapping back, we see Dave Doeren. Remember earlier this year, I forget what game it was, where he's like, "Shit, be happy we won."
Yeah,
yeah. I think that was against the Marshall game. I want to say where he's like, "Shit, be happy we won." I think we're starting to see like the Deion Sandersization maybe of college football, like these bigger personalities now. Like everyone knows, like, hey, I'm going to sell my program more. I'm going to get clicks. I'm going to put this team on my back. I don't know. We're starting to see these coaches shift now, or is it just me? Like that we're starting to see more personality. I feel like 15 years ago, we never would have heard a coach clap back at someone on the in the media saying that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and then Dave goes on again in his post-game presser to follow those comments up.
ACC. So this is not a basketball school. This is a great school. It has great sports and football's one of them. And so yeah, if he wants to come see me, we can talk about that. Do your homework before you start talking shit.
I love it, man. I love Dave Doeren. I love everything about him.
Yeah, if that was my coach, I'd love it too.
Yeah, and I think State people especially want someone that's NC State has the perennial redheaded stepchild in North Carolina. So you want someone that's going to speak up for State, that's going to ride for you, put you on your back. And yeah, he may not win the big games. A lot of people call him Cupcake Dave, but I like the man wears his cowboy boots. He got the win over Clemson a couple years ago. He has red cup on the ACC network with the cigar in his mouth. He's just an old boy, and I love it about him. And he'll call you out. Now, apparently, his Zoom availability this week, he did say that he did reach out to Coach Kevin Keats, the basketball program, because I did hear on another Wolfpack podcast that those comments maybe made some people feel a sort of way in the basketball offices. Well, I might say something that you perceive as a slight that I don't mean that way when I'm defending myself or something, or vice versa. So I think they smoothed things out. He did mention him and Keats are good friends. They're all good.
no reason for him to get upset about that.
Yeah,
Or
I don't
anybody.
know
Just
if it
because you
was-
say if you're not a basketball school, that doesn't mean you're saying anything bad about the basketball program.
Well, I think Keats has been under his own fair share of criticism in the microscope for the basketball program and the lack of
Yeah,
NCAA
but
tournament appearances and success. So
when
he's
he
probably
said-
feeling a little sensitive.
I guess. But when he says this isn't a basketball school, all he's saying is, like, we're a football school too. Like,
Yeah. Well, remember that silly debate that Kentucky had a couple years ago with Calipari and Stoops about, they were literally taking shots back and forth at each other about about Kentucky basketball versus Kentucky football. I mean, look, Kentucky's always going to be a basketball school.
yeah, that's different. Yeah.
Stoops has done a great job. They're always going to be a basketball school. Now, apparently, also, Dave said in his availability that Steve Smith was really high class. Sent him a video, I guess, and they talked on the phone, and he invited him out to come watch a game from the sideline and experience everything and stuff. So,
cool.
And NC State does this thing. It's like the Alpha Wolf starter of the game where they have like a celebrity or somebody start like the Wolfpack chant before the game. They've been doing that this year. Maybe we see Steve Smith out there.
Maybe that'd be cool.
Maybe. But hey, he got the program in the news, got him some clicks, and gave us something to talk about. Yeah. And I love that these coaches give us something to talk about. Now we need Mike Elko from Duke to say something. Then we'll have the whole triangle saying something. I don't know about Wake Forest. They're too nice. Dave Clawson out there. I don't think they're going to say anything.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I don't think Tony Ellett from Virginia. I can't see him talking a lot of shit.
Shit.
Hey, your program's got a little room to talk a little shit, though. Albeit they're not the sexiest wins in the world, but Virginia Tech are starting to turn things around.
Did we pick our last NFL pick before we
haven't done that?
No.
How did I get down that road?
I haven't made mine. You made Miami, KC under 50.5 and Seattle plus 5.5. Did you make your third NFL pick? Did I miss it?
No, I didn't. Why didn't you tell me shut the fuck up?
Because you were riffing off of something we said. I forget how you got here. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, shit. All right, then we'll do that pick, but I want to get your thoughts on Virginia Tech after that.
Yeah.
Okay. Your last NFL pick. As you go back to pull it up, I'll go to mine first.
No, I'll do mine first.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought I was waiting on you. All right, my last NFL pick is going to be also a very ugly game. The Cardinals at the Browns. The over-under is 37.5. I'm going to under. This is just going to be a very ugly game. We're going to have Clayton Tune probably starting for the Cardinals.
Ooh.
There's a small chance that Kyler comes back, but even if he comes back, he's not going to be ready. He's not going to be in game shape or any of that. And then the Browns might be starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who I actually kind of like.
DTR.
But, rookie. I don't know if I think this would be his first start. I'm not sure.
I think it would be.
I'm thinking of the preseason.
Yeah, PJ Walker's has been starting before, but that magic seems to have run out.
Well, they've been kind of non-committal on PJ Walker, so it sounds like maybe he would get to start, or maybe Deshaun Watson decides that he wants to play football again. I don't know. So, I just think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. The Browns' defense is great. The Cardinals have a pretty good defense, too. Sorry. It's gonna be a hard game to watch, but give me the under.
And what's the under total?
Under 37.5.
Under 37.5. Okay. And I can't believe I went on that whole tangent. I thought we were done with the NFL. I'm so shocked by my stupidity.
It's all good.
All right. So my last NFL game, and see, if Ryan wasn't on assignment, I would love to see his reaction to this one. Got the Dallas Cowboys 5-2 at the, beer makes me gassy. At the 7-1 Philadelphia Eagles, Sunday 4:25 on Fox. Philadelphia 3-point favorite. Over under is 46 there. Eagles, I talked about Seattle finding ways to win. Philadelphia finds ways to win, but it's not in the dominant fashion that we've seen like last year. I guess they haven't just quite looked fully in sync. Like I feel like they haven't played their best complete game. I mean, maybe that game against Miami. But for the most part, we haven't really seen them play like a complete game. Jalen Hurts, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions thus far this year. I'm not liking that ratio with Dallas as a developing ball hawk in their secondary in Deron Bland, the second-year guy from Fresno State. He's got 4 interceptions on the year, including 2 that he took back for touchdowns, including 1 last week, I believe. And I'm also concerned about Dallas's offensive line, but Tyron Smith should be back, so that should help shore things up a little bit. I like the Cowboys plus the 3 points here in Philadelphia. And I think I will actually sprinkle a little bit on Dallas to get the outright win, but I will take Cowboys plus the 3 points in the city of brotherly love.
Interesting.
And I'm sure Ryan is pulling out.
Yeah, I have no idea how this game is going to go. It could be a close game. It could be a blowout either way. Yeah, you mentioned Bland for what, ever since Diggs went out, the Cowboys have been kind of getting beat up through the air yardage wise, and AJ Brown's going to get his 125, and they still got Devontae Smith and Goddard, and I don't know. Philly has been kind of struggling, where Hurts has been struggling a little bit. He hasn't looked like his old self, but division game, it's in Philly. Yeah, it could go any type of way.
I feel like this is either the kind of game where Dallas is going to outright win a close game, or they're going to get blown out. And I know I took them plus the 3 points here. Just me guarding against myself. I don't trust them full enough to go full in to get the upset on the road here. But yeah, it's either going to be a close win, maybe a last second field goal or something like that, or I feel like they're going to get walloped 35-10 or something like that.
That's fair.
It's when they flail out, they flail out.
Yeah, we might have pissed that Eagle defense off there. I mean, our offense did put a lot of points and yards against them. Maybe they'll come out with some fire. I don't know.
Or maybe they showed the key to the rest of the league. The score some points, because you got Jahan Dotson. That was his best game as a almost hit Redskin.
That's how I thought he was going to be playing all year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's funny in fantasy. I just picked him up because
I dropped him.
I got rid of Jerry Jeudy and picked up Jahan Dotson. I feel pretty good about that. At least
in our league,
after 1 week. No, in another league that I'm in. I was trying to swing a trade for that trade 1-on-1, and then we had a. Okay. My league is weird where you can only add and drop after certain weeks.
Oh, yeah. You told me about that.
Yeah, and so someone dropped them. I'm like, hey, freebie. Okay, there we go. So worked out for me there. So, all right. But yeah, so going back to college real quick, Virginia Tech, they are at Louisville, I believe. Is that in Louisville or is it in Blacksburg?
Louisville.
Yeah, okay. It's
unfortunately.
But no, the Hokies have reeled off a couple wins in a row. Drones is playing really well at quarterback.
He's our quarterback. Yep.
We're starting to run the ball a little bit, and we're starting to see the defense make some plays here too. Now, albeit, you go back and look, I'm trying to pull their schedule up in front of me. The wins aren't the, sexiest in the world. They beat Wake. They beat the hell out of a bad Syracuse team at home, and that's what you expect Virginia Tech to do. Is beat up on a team like that. They were in that game with Florida State for a while before they got worked.
Came back in the second half, and then yeah,
and they beat Pitt. Pitt's obviously had their issues, but it seems like maybe they're starting to turn the corner a little bit. And you look at this game against Louisville. That's a winnable game. Then you go to Boston College, which BC, even go back to the Big East days, has always kind of been a thorn in Virginia Tech's side. And Boston College started to turn their season around a little bit. They're 5-3 after their early struggles. You get NC State at home on the 18th of November, and then finish the season at Virginia, who's showing signs of life themselves. So it should be an interesting run down the stretch. But believe it or not, Scotty, if they win out, they're going to go to the ACC championship game.
Yeah, somehow this game is for sole possession of second place in the ACC, which is just insane after we were 1-3 in non-conference going into ACC play. Yeah, I mean, we found our quarterback, at least for the next 2 years, unless he transfers.
Which you can never be sure of in this day and age.
Yeah. The running game is looking a lot better. The defense is good. I mean, shit, if we win this game, we might be ranked, which is insane to think about.
I don't know if they're ranked.
We'll definitely get some votes.
They got 4 losses. I don't know if they're going to be snipped around the top 25.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, JMU is like 23 or something like that right now, and they're undefeated. The body of work is different, though. But, yeah. It's interesting. I think when Pry got hired and when Elliott got hired, I felt like Pry was going to have an easier road to success, obviously given the resources and the history and the tradition that Virginia Tech has. He struggled mightily, but I think you're starting to see the ship turn things around. If he can hit the portal well and he's recruited Virginia well, I'm not saying they're going to go back to the Frank Beamer days and be a top 10 team or whatever, but with the resources that Virginia Tech has, there's no reason that shouldn't be a perennial top 25, 8, maybe a 9-win, a special year 10-win team that, could every now and then fly up and contend for the ACC. I don't think the Beamer days are ever coming back, but that program should be in a lot further ahead than what it is, and I feel like it's starting to make that turn to get there.
Well, yeah, just effort in recruiting is the main thing, and probably is putting that effort in. What I forgot where I heard it, but they were saying that this is the first year that anybody's gone back to Michael Vick's high school since I guess Beamer was there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, if you're, albeit the 757 hasn't put out the caliber of talent that they used to. There's no, Vicks and D'Angelo Halls and Ronald Currys. And, Allen Iverson was, some people would say, a better football player than he was basketball in high school. You're not seeing, Percy Harvin. Oh, my God, how can I forget that highlight machine? You're not seeing as many of those guys come out, but there's still great talent down there. And if they can get back into there and get those guys, because Carolina's getting guys out of the 757 again. Dre Bly was down there recruiting before and getting guys out of there. And 757 and Nova, like Northern Virginia and this Richmond metro area. You win those three areas, and then Virginia Tech was always good about getting some big lineman from Galax that was like a 2-star guy or whatever that was serviceable that maybe winds up in the NFL. And they always got some kicker or something from somewhere in the western part of the state. They can get those kind of guys and get back to that kind of recruiting again. Yeah.
That's the reason why they can't do that.
That's gonna be a problem there. So it'll be interesting to see. Are you excited for the expanded ACC? By the way, with the schedule coming out for the next, next like 7 or 8 years, whatever it is?
No, not really.
I think Virginia Tech's going to Stanford next year. I think. Can you talk about the clash of cultures? I just imagine like Hokie fans coming out there with like aluminum cans. Like it's like the Beverly Hillbillies, when they go out west.
We'll have some fans go out there.
Rolling out the Palo Alto, and there's like chicken feed and stuff everywhere. And, they're drinking their soy lattes and, talking about AI out in Stanford. There'll be 38 people at the game. 25 of them will be Hokie fans. ACC football, baby. Catch the fever.
Let's go.
And, of course, NC State, I believe, next year goes to Cal. And former Wolfpacker Ben Finley transferred to Cal. I'm not sure where his status is right now. I know he's not starting. I don't know if he's hurt or what. But, you go halfway across the country, you figure you can never see him again. And now we'll probably run into him next year with the Golden Bears.
Yeah, it's going to be very weird. Probably have like a 10 o'clock start time.
Oh, God. Virginia has, I know, SMU at home next year. I think, depending on the rest of the football schedule next year, I think I would pay money to go see that. I've always wanted to see SMU. And I feel like they could be a problem in the ACC. They got money. And they got donors, and now they're finally in Power 5, and they have a major metropolitan area, that Dallas-Fort Worth area and stuff. Like, I feel like you could be waking up something now that they're finally going to a big conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know. We'll see. They beat the hell out of Tulsa last week, by the way, 66 points.
Yeah, that could definitely be.
Who do you think has a quicker road to success of the new teams, Cal, Stanford, or SMU?
Not Stanford.
In football.
It'd either be Cal or SMU. I don't know. You might have just talked me into SMU.
Yeah.
I think at first it'd be Cal, but I think over the long term, SMU.
You think Cal would succeed quicker?
They'll be better the first couple of years. I don't know about if you would call it success, but I mean, they're not terrible right now.
I can't wait for the first Cal.
Oh wait, Cal is bad.
Yeah.
I think I'm mixing them up with UCLA.
Yeah, I think you are. I can't wait for like the first Cal Syracuse game.
SMU. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine Cal and Syracuse in Berkeley?
Yeah.
For the 38 people, that just sounds miserable.
Yeah, that's going on CW for sure.
God,
maybe they might not even take it.
It'd be public access television. It's like right up there with the channels that run like the city council meetings. You just put that exciting ACC football. All right, well, that'll do it for the sports segment this afternoon. Before we get out of here, I want to touch on a couple of non-sports things here as my notes fail me. Scotty, while I go pull that up, where can we find this monstrosity online?
Or you could find it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm forgetting one. I do every
Threads.
time. Threads at Let's Not Do This Podcast. Twitter/X at _ Let's Not Do This. Again, go subscribe to the YouTube.
Thank you, sir. And by the way, I think America's forgotten about Threads. When's the last time you've used Threads? Other than
only when I get a notification that somebody followed me or whatever.
Yeah, only posting something about the show is the only time I use Threads.
Yeah, it was. It was a good idea. I just think Zuckerberg was just trying to make Elon sweat. I think he just got bored.
All right. So one last thing before we get out of here. There's a restaurant in Georgia that's taking some flack right now. So this is from Tampa TV station WFLA originally had the story, but the internet is divided over a small detail at the bottom of a Georgia restaurant's menu that charges parents for their misbehaving children. Just below the gratuity disclaimer, the Toco Riverside restaurant menu reads adult surcharge for adults unable to parent, and it's got $3 signs next to it. A Florida mom said she visited there, and she didn't think it was real. She said their table had 11 kids ranging from age 3 to 8, and she thought her kids were behaved, but the owner apparently disagreed, and she got a $50 additional fee due to her kids being too loud. Now, neither you nor I have children, at least that we know of. Chris somehow, some way does. I still don't know how.
Supposedly.
Yeah, and Ryan, there was Adam, Eve, and Ryan. People don't like to think about that a lot back in those days, but
he doesn't have a kid, but he does have a grandkid. I don't know how that works.
It's like
just
Dolly.
kidding, just kidding.
It's like Dolly the sheep. The cloning. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this? Should they charge more if your kid's acting up? And I guess define being too loud. Like, what's too loud?
I don't know. I guess you have to be there. I don't hate the idea. I think they need to find a better name for it, because it was just unable to parent. Is that what they called it?
Yeah, unable
or is that
to
what
parent.
you can't say that shit. You gotta come up with like a more professional term. But I mean, I don't hate it.
I looked up this restaurant.
Is it a nice restaurant?
That's the thing. I looked it up. It doesn't look like it's Shea Fushi or something like that. It looks like it's just a normal kind of, it's where you take your family,
Oh, yeah.
As our,
then yeah,
let's
that's
not do
kinda
this,
stupid.
mascot is making her presence known downstairs. If you can hear the barking, that's not Ryan or Chris. That's that's our Diggy. That's our mascot. But yeah, so so you feel like this fee is okay?
Well, I thought it was like a really nice place. If it's a really nice restaurant, then I could see it. But if it's just like a Applebee's or something, then no, no.
Yeah, there's certain things you expect at certain restaurants. You go to Applebee's, kids are going to be making noise or whatever little neighborhood spot. If you go to our Cougar Palace down the street here, your kid's probably going to catch secondhand from, the Marlboro Reds are being smoked.
Yeah. They take 20 minutes to bring you a refill, and you're going to charge me $50 for my kids. Yeah, that's not happening.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. What if you're an owner and you're pretty shrewd, what if you slow the service down? Because let's say, you'll probably never see this family again, especially if you kind of pick up they're out of town. Maybe you slow the service down. Kids are getting hungry. They're getting cranky. They start acting up. Now you can drop an extra $50 on there.
Yeah, that's not where I was going at. I was just saying, it's not a very nice restaurant, so the service probably isn't great.
Oh,
so
okay.
You're not going to charge me money if you're not giving me great service to begin with. Yeah.
What else could we expand this to? Could we expand it to like the drunk fee? You and I go to a lot of sports bars. We've seen a lot of drunk guys yelling, especially about very uninteresting, at least to me, VCU basketball. I enjoy watching them lose. And I remember being at one particular sports guy bar last year, and there was a gentleman who probably couldn't find VCU on the map that was melting down over their loss in the NCAA tournament. Would you be okay with charging him an extra $50?
You can't, but I would be fine. Yeah, because I want to sometimes. I want him to give me money sometimes. It's like every single play in a basketball game.
Yeah,
like every single time. Like, chill out, dude.
Well, I think it's worse now with betting. Remember, we were at a place last week, and there was a guy absolutely melting down over the first basket of Lakers Nuggets, and I just looked over and was like, "First bet, buddy," and he was like, "Yeah, man." Then he proceeds to go on a 15-minute monologue about his bet, which I didn't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
We
kind of tuned him out. He stopped talking.
a little bit. Well, we got tuned into our Colt friends last week, though, so we had that going for us.
Yeah. Or one buddy almost joined a cult himself. Yeah.
That's probably where Chris is right now. He probably did join that cult.
He probably did.
Yeah, well,
He got bored.
speaking of Colts, we're going to go and get out of here so we can go maybe have a beer with the Colt. You can find us online.
One of them listens to the podcast.
Well, if he's listening at an hour and 4 minutes in, may God have mercy on this
We're gonna get shot.
on the soul. Yeah, we
He
probably.
made it very apparent that he has guns.
Well, we'll bring Chris back.
Yeah.
For that
Hopefully you'll
episode.
see us next week.
If not, go with God. And subscribe on the podcast. That's at least, if we're going to die for you, if we're going to die, at least subscribe.
Please.
That's a t-shirt. If we're going to die, at least subscribe. That could be our first t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. We're getting the hell out of here.